you can grab a piece of their testimony or their story and carry it on with you. And as the weeks and the pieces stack up, it becomes something beautiful. With that being said, this week, I didn't bring on a survivor. I actually brought on a amazing caregiver. With that being said, here is Salud, Salinda. Hi, Salud.
Hello there, Mark.
How are you?
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes. So, Salud. Now, I have, like I said in the beginning of the entry, I've had stroke survivors on here, and I wanted to bring on a caregiver to give, that kind of perspective to the audience, the caregiver perspective. So before we dive into that, why don't you go ahead I know you're a popular person in our community, but for those that don't know you, why don't you go ahead and give a brief introduction of yourself?
Well, I'm Salud Salinda, and I was a teacher for a long time. And do you want me to say anything about Tom, how we met, or that's later on?
Yeah, just yourself.
Okay. I came to the United States when I was 5.5. Flew here all by myself from the Philippines. I know everybody thinks I'm Hawaiian, but I love the aloha feeling and the aloha spirit. So, and when I'm there, they all think that I am Hawaiian anyway. And there's a lot of Filipinos there. So,
Yeah, true.
yeah. And I love people. So it's, and I just go with the flow a lot of times, even though I have my hot Spanish Filipino blood.
I'm not too sure if the hot Spanish I think that just might be women in general.
Oh.
I mean, I love all my ladies. I love all my ladies. I love all my ladies. I don't know. I love you, babe. I love you. But so now that we know who our favorite Salud is, what let's go ahead and jump into. So we already spoke about Tom, so we know that we're talking about Tom here. Now, how did you guys meet? How did you and Tom meet?
Well, in 7th grade.
Nice. Wow. How amazing is that?
I know. But you know what? Boyfriend, girlfriend for a minute in 8th grade. He was very popular. The girls all loved him and everything.
Yeah.
And in high school, we went to the same high school for 2 years. And we have pictures of him just surrounded with all these girls. But he broke my heart in 8th grade. And then he left our school in
that dirty bird. That dirty bird.
I know. And I told him he broke my heart because guess what? I never got married throughout all those years. And he got married twice. Aloha, Melissa. I can see those comments.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna let you be the one to interrupt yourself then. Okay. How about that?
I interrupt myself all the time. Uh-oh, we're in trouble. How long do you have? Anyway, so Tom got married right out of high school, apparently, and had 2 children, divorced. Yes, 2 children, 2 biological children, and he was divorced, and then he remarried. And he was married to that woman for over 30-something years.
Oh, wow.
And she had a daughter, and he adopted her. So, and he's got 3 grandchildren with that adopted daughter. And then, but he hasn't had anything, and it's sad, with his biological children. So, but we remet at our 40-year high school reunion in 20.
Okay. Let's not over exaggerate here. What? We all know that you're only 31 years old. So
that's right.
Come on.
That's why I said 40-year. I keep on, you know why? Because I think after the 20-year high school reunion, I didn't go to any. And
Yeah,
then I didn't
yeah.
really want to
So
go to the 40-year, but, hey,
yeah,
it
but
was
I
meant to
mean,
be, right?
you're only 31 years old though. So how can that even be possible here,
Uh,
Salute?
Thank you. I know. I act like I'm 30. Oh,
Hey, that's the fun part, right?
yes, yes.
So
So, oh, I see the comments. I'm not going to interrupt myself. Hi. Anyway, so the 2010. Okay, that's why I keep on saying 2010 40-year high school reunion.
uh,
So, a good friend of his from grade school actually got all of the students from the elementary school to
yeah.
go. Whether we had gone to Westchester High, most of us either went to Westchester High or St. Bernard's, and they were right next to each other in Playa del Rey, here in Southern California. And so we re-met there, but he was still married. And then just a few months after the 2010 40-year high school reunion, his wife passed away. But we'd all gotten our Facebook friends and everything. He was stalking me. He never commented on any of my pictures, but he was looking because,
Oh yeah.
when he was ready, then he said, "Oh, well, I'll contact her because she looks like she's fun." you know. So that's the story, and I'm sticking to it.
There you
So
go. Hey,
yeah,
hey.
so he
He's not
contacted.
he's not he's not there to negate it. So
Oh, he's behind that green curtain.
Oh,
He can hear every
there
single
you go.
word. So
There you go.
anyway, he when he was ready, he called me up to help with another reunion in
That's cute.
2013. Yeah,
Yeah, that's cute. Yeah.
but and luckily he had asked me for help because I told him if he had asked me for a date, I would have said no. So the
All
main
because of the eighth grade deal, or what?
huh?
All because of the eighth grade heartbreak,
Yes,
or
I wasn't gonna have him break my heart again. Come on now.
I know, right?
So anyway, that's what how that whole thing started. But I traveled a lot, and so I saw him to help him with that reunion, and then I left town. I always left town, and during that time we contacted each other by phone, and he asked me out. That's when he said, "I'd like to take you out to dinner." I said,
Uh,
"Oh no," he asked me to go to a baseball game, and now I'm a Dodger fan. Guess what he was asking me to go to? An
Giants,
Angel game.
an Angel game.
An
Yeah,
Angel game.
I don't watch basketball, so couldn't really answer that question.
Baseball. I know you knew it was baseball. but but no, and then of course when Mike Scioscia from the Dodgers went over there, then I didn't mind the Angels,
Right.
But anyway, I said I'm out of town, so he actually thought I was just giving him the run around, and I said no, really, I am really out of town.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, "Well, why don't you just give me a call when you get back in?" And I did. I wasn't playing hard to get. Yes, I
Yeah.
did. But, you know, he had to work for it.
Yeah, you
It
gotta
was,
you gotta make them. You gotta make
yeah.
them work.
Tom, are you listening? Yeah, say it louder. So, so anyway, that's how it all started. We went out probably I guess in the beginning of August, and I went to a family reunion by myself, no word of anybody in my life. And then September 14th, a month later, he asked me to marry him, and I said yes.
Wow.
And so everybody's
Hey,
like going, "What? Where? How did that happen?" So it was, and then we got married the following year, August 10th, 2014.
that's what happens when you know you know who you're supposed to be with. Like I went on a date with my wife who actually knew what, like 10 years prior than that. We worked at the Carl's Jr. together 10 years prior to that. And then Sims kind of the same story, similar, I guess. But I was stalking her on Facebook.
You were another stalker. Oh my,
Actually, I was not stalking her on Facebook. What had happened is
sure.
I know, right? But she made a post on Facebook, something to the fact that all guys suck or something like that. And
Oh,
and
what?
one of her friend, one of her friends and my sister's friends, they're mutual friends. And she said, "Oh, you should date Mark. He's a nice guy." And I was right in the middle of school, and I said, "Oh, I don't got time for that. I'm too busy with school." So it kind of just was left at that. And I'm driving home from school one day, and I'm just bawling, like I'm so. And it was like one of those full on ugly cries, and I'm like, I'm so lonely. I need companion. One of those deals. And then I was
Yeah.
like remembering how uh, dang, I can't remember what her name is. She's gonna be so mad when she watches this video. Babe, who? Anyways, when the mutual friend, I can't remember what her
That's
name is.
okay. When I'm
Well,
introducing people,
it's
I
it's
don't
it's
remember
from
it.
my stroke. Okay, that's why I can't remember the name. But anyways,
Oh,
but when the mutual friend, you know, so when I completely lost where I was going with this. But anyways, so I hit her up. I hit up Shannon on Facebook. I said, "Hey, we should meet up for coffee." And then we met up for coffee on that very first coffee date. I knew she was gonna to be my wife. I knew she was gonna be the mother of my children. And here we are, 4 kids later. And so and apparently that's where Tom was at. He knew. He's like, I don't need to wait a year, 3 years to just sit there. He's like, I got to put a ring on it. I got to slap a ring on it.
oops, and I'm not even wearing my wedding ring
Oh, tisk
because
tisk.
I'm washing my hands so much. And oh, yes, Jerry, I know who's talking there. And uh, oh, look, I went to the cinema with John as friends, and he just didn't go home. Oh, isn't that sweet? That is so sweet. Yes. And you know what? I stayed single until I was 62.
Oh
And
wow, yeah.
yeah, no marriages in between. He's the one. He's had 3. I'm the third. But he had the same best man for all 3 weddings.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. And so anyway, we got married, and we were doing a lot of traveling already anyway from the 2013 to 2014. And then when we got married, then oh, that's so sweet, Lynn. Thank you. But anyway, when we got married, we had all kinds of travel plans, because he didn't really travel when he was married for
Right.
30 years,
Yeah.
other than for his business, but that's not traveling. And, because you're working.
Yeah.
So we were supposed to go to a, a cruise at the end of April, and he had his stroke March 31st, 7 months after we got married. So we were
Yeah.
supposed to go to a cruise. And that had been a wedding gift. Then we were supposed to, in May, that was April, and then May we were supposed to go to Bermuda. It was either May or June, to Bermuda for a wedding, family wedding. And then after that, we were supposed to go to somewhere in the summertime. Oh, my family reunion, 2015, and Las Vegas for our business convention. And then in September, we were supposed to go to Bali. And then that December, we were supposed to go to the Philippines. So I think he had the stroke to escape all that traveling. I'm kidding.
That's just too much fun for me, man. I'm gonna opt out.
I know. He's like, oh, but no. After he had his stroke, he had it March 31st, 2015. By January 2016, that's when we started traveling.
Yeah, so let's go to that date then on March 31st, 2015. That's what you said, March 31st,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So what do you recall from that day?
We had a great
What do you
time.
recall from that day? Yeah, like
I have good
like that
recall. What are you
day and
talking about? I'm sorry. The day before, he golfed with three of my cousins.
okay.
And huh? He's saying four. Well, I wasn't the
Hi
one that
Tom.
golfed. He golfed. Okay, he golfed.
There you
I
go.
went shopping.
There you go.
And so anyway, yeah, he golfed, and they had a great time and everything. And the next day, we went to some wineries, he and I, and so we went to quite a few. And okay, he was raised as Catholic, okay, and and he really hadn't been doing anything with the church for quite a while because he was married to his wife for 30 something years. He did not convert to her religion. But anyway, so that day we went to three Catholic wineries. Okay, so there's a point to this. So we went to these wineries, and then we went out to dinner, and then we went home, and back to the timeshare where we just were for 8 weeks. That's my home away from home, and he happened to have a stroke there. So we watched a movie, and we went to bed. We were tired, and and all of a sudden I heard him talking in his, well, I thought talking in his sleep. And I said, "Hey, are you having a bad dream?" And he said, "No, I'm fine. I'm just tired. Just go back to sleep." But he was slurring. He was slurring. I bumped him and I said, "You're not drunk." And I turned on the light and I went, "Oh." And I said, "Sit up." Couldn't sit up. I said, "Smile." Could not smile. "Put up your arms." Could not do it. And I knew right away. It was a full blown stroke.
Wow.
And so I called I made sure he wasn't going to smother. And I called the front desk and I said, "Call 911. I think my husband's having a stroke." And I got dressed, got the phones, got the chargers. This is the teacher in me, okay? I kept a level head. The security guards came up to make sure I was fine, and then they went down to get the paramedics because it's a big complex. They got the paramedics, they got them upstairs, and they worked on Tom for a little while, and then they realized they better get him to the hospital. So the hospital that he was taken to was a Catholic hospital. Also, it's like, oh, you know, and where we were staying next door at the Meritage Resort and Spa, that family that owns that, and we're good friends with them and everything, they have a chapel there. And and so anyway, it's like he was just surrounded by us Catholics,
Right. That's
So he
too
was
funny.
taken to a Catholic hospital, and I waited in the waiting room, and it was just almost. Oh, one thing also, as I looked at the time when he was slurring. So that's really important too when you feel it first realized. Okay, so I did look at that. I registered in my head, and and then so when the paramedics came and I rode in the ambulance with them, um, then when they were checking him in, it was almost midnight. Okay, so guess what the next day is? After March 31st, what day is it?
April Fools.
That's right. And I said, "What a crappy April Fool's joke to play on me.
Right.
So anyway, they took him in. They figured out what kind of stroke he was having, and then the neurologist brought me in, and then he said, "Okay, this is what's happening. This is what we can do." And I said, "Well, what's the prognosis? What's the chances and everything?" And he said, "It's about 92% positive." And so I said, "Well, then go for it." Because
What do you mean 92% positive what?
positive outcome of doing the TPA, because they figured out it was a ischemic stroke. It was a massive ischemic stroke, and it was actually in his brainstem.
Oh, wow.
And so it was pretty serious. You go,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
So anyway, they did it, and they let me stay in the emergency room with him, and I just sat out of the way. I knew that they needed to do their work. I was the talk of the hospital after that, because they were like, all the doctors and nurses said if their spouses had said, "I'm okay, go back to sleep," they would have. And guess who would have been awake? Wakened, I mean, guess who wouldn't have wakened up? So anyway, um, they did a great job at that hospital, except there was one doctor who said, "Oh, now Jerry stopped being a strive for greatness. Let's talk stroke. Now he's Jerry Wald." I'm sorry. You know what? I have to. I'm ribbing him right now. Anyway, so that the doctor that came in, and I can't even remember what kind of doctor he was. He says, "Well, people that suffer this kind of stroke don't usually make it." And I looked at him and I said, "You are not God. Get out of this room." And he looked, and Tom was right there, and I could see Tom's face just drop. And he says, "But he has a right to know." And I said, "Not now. He's all bandaged up and intubated and everything else." And it's like, what the heck? So I said, "Get out of here." And I told the head administrator, whatever, I said, "He's not to come into this room again." I didn't care who he was. So anyway, he and it what we were with Kaiser. Okay, this was not a Kaiser hospital. So it's, he and then they had to, because his head started getting swollen,
Yeah.
and so they had to do a shunt, and I said, "Yeah, go, do it." And then the one doctor also said, "This is probably going to take a while, so so we should do a trach and a G tube." And so I said, "Go ahead, do it," because who knew, but they knew that it was pretty serious. What was really good was I have a brother, younger brother. He's 8.5 years younger than I am, but he treats me like a younger sister. Anyway, because I act younger, he he's a hospitalist for the Kaiser down in San Diego. He just retired a year ago or something, but he's still going on for COVID. But anyway, I called him and I told him what was happening, and would he talk to the neurologist. So I had a lot of support, medical support, even though I was really comfortable being around hospitals because I'd been a home hospital teacher. So, and so I was used to, um, being there and having to remain calm and everything, and because I worked with children who were going through serious illnesses, and some of them passed away. So that part, is very, very, I know, difficult for the parents. And so I that was
It
it.
is.
Yeah. So anyway, with Tom, once he was, after a few days, then they started actually working with him. The one doctor said it was good. He saw that Tom's, um, um, was just squirming all over the bed.
Yeah.
He was squirming.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, oh, because he could not move really anything, but he could squirm. And so I thought, oh my gosh. And then they had him, he was able to move his toes. His whole left side really wasn't moving, but he started moving his toes. And so that
Good
was a
to
good
go.
sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
then I had a feeling that they were trying to get him transferred down to the Kaiser in Vallejo. And I said, you guys are not transferring him until he is stable. And they all said, it's not us, it's Kaiser. And I said, well, then tell them he's not stable yet, you know. And then I have a service, and that's what we market. And I called up our law firm, and the three doctors that I felt like were trying to hurry him out uh, came in, and I looked at them and I said, that's okay. I'll be right there. I'm speaking to our law firm right now. I got out of that room and went to meet with them, and they were all scrambling to have their P's and Q's and everything crossed and dotted, because they were conferring on how they were going to handle me. And it's like, so when he was ready, they did transfer him down to the Kaiser Vallejo, and he was there until May 8th, and then they flew us home. One of my cousins and his wife drove our car home, and my timeshare. This is how wonderful they are, because we were supposed to leave actually the beginning of April, and they let me stay in the same room, the same one-bedroom unit that I had for the rest of the time. It was during Easter break. They were sold out.
Oh,
They
wow.
they thought that I was going to have to move out one weekend, and the proprietor of the winery next door with the chapel and everything, he told me, he said, Salud, if you have to move out, we're not going to be home this weekend. We will leave the key. You can use our home. One of the nurses at the Catholic high school hospital said, if you need to stay here for an extended period, my mom and I have a home with a downstairs unit. They had just met me. I mean, all this loving, just all these helpful. And then of course my family, my cousins and everything, were coming up and making sure I had food and everything, because I spent most of the time at the hospital. Just went to the timeshare to take a shower, change, and go back. So but he had really good hospital care there. And then even when they transferred him down to the Kaiser here in West LA, he was there for a week. And again, just everything was great. And then they were going to send him to the subacute. And I had two choices, and I didn't want to go to downtown LA. So the other one was in San Pedro, and um, I went. No, they didn't have room, but one of the um, case managers at the Kaiser said, "You know what? Why don't you go down there and meet the intake person there?" And I said, "Okay." So I went, and guess what? Miraculously, there was a bed. So Tom got to go to where it was a very nice place. And yes, there were some people that needed to be slapped, but most of the care there, the physical therapist, I learned from her. She said, find your center. That's where I learned, find your center, Tom. She did not give him any leeway there. And the occupational therapist was great, the speech, and just everybody, so that, and he was there for 101 days.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And Michelle. Hey, Michelle. She's a dear friend of ours, and business partner and everything, and she's the one in Long Beach. I did send it out there.
LBC.
Yes, yes. Pretty soon to be in the Palm Springs area.
Nice.
So, anyway, that's
So that
yeah,
so you basically say that you got your feet, so to speak, your feet wet, your base from when Tom was in therapy, kind of like sitting back, watching, learning, observing from the therapist, right? So now let's jump into um, where we're the focus of the show is what we're trying to get the people to see the caretaker part. So that's exactly where we're at in the story now, to
right.
see the caretaker part. I'm not going to quite jump there yet because I want to ask you. I want to ask you. So now, this is an honest question because I kind of asked my wife the same thing. Um, Now, is this something that like you could have ever like foreseen? As it's a silly question, but it's one that I always like end up asking my wife. So I just figured I'd ask you.
That's okay. No, of course, you never foresee that
Right.
because but he did have sleep apnea, and at first I was like, going, is he still breathing? And I asked him, I said, have you had that checked? And he said, yeah. And I said, when? He said, like 25 years ago. And people forget when. And I said, 25 years ago? Well, and you haven't done anything since then? And I told him, I said, it's not good because it can cause strokes and heart attacks. And so, anyway, and we just gotten married. And then he also divulged that he was supposed to be on blood pressure medicine and cholesterol. He goes, oh, I didn't like what it was doing to me and all this stuff. And my family just makes a lot high cholesterol. And I said, yeah, and so anyway, so I should have had some kind of inkling. Luckily, we got married, and I put him on my health insurance. Otherwise, he would have been a pauper right then and there, because at that time I was already retired. I retired in 2010, but my district was going to pay for my insurance until I was 65, and I retired at 57. And so when we got married, and I put him onto my insurance, um, I didn't have to pay anything for him or myself, and we had great insurance. So thank goodness, because it has been, even the flight from Northern California down, we didn't have to pay anything for that. I only had to pay for the 101st day at the subcourses,
Yeah.
changing beds and changing the patient, whatever they call them, but at that time they were CNAs down here. They call them something else up north. Um, anyway, I watched how they changed the bed. I actually know how to change and I thank goodness, because even though I did have caregivers in the beginning 24/7, they were uh, 24-hour, but I had to give them 8 hours. So I always gave them, of course, nighttime sleep time because I wanted them awake when he was awake. But during those days, his bed needed to be changed quite a bit because there would be accidents. I knew how to do it without getting him out of bed because I watched those CNAs. I learned and then also I'm not afraid, and
There you go.
I'm strong.
There you go. Yeah. When
And
Shannon and I were first dating, I had a seizure at school.
oh,
I called her. I said, I don't know, we must have been dating for like, I don't know, a few months. But I called her. I said, hey, I'm about ready to have a seizure. Meet me at the courtyard. So I walked out of my class. I went and I laid down in the courtyard and I started having seizures. And, next thing I knew, I was, in the hospital or whatever. Or no, I was getting wheeled into the ambulance. But, and it has never happened before. So it was apparently a pretty severe seizure. But I did lose my bowel movements on that one. So we were dating for a few months and we're in the hospital and there she is cleaning my butt 2 months in. So that's how I knew she was a keeper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hey, that's what I told Tom. I said, I never realized when I got married, I would be cleaning your ass and picking your nose. Now, in the beginning, I didn't know how to shave. I didn't know how to cut the nose hairs or anything. For a while, I mean, he had hair coming out of his nose where we could braid it. And his ears. Now it's like I'm cutting, I'm shaving, and I'm cleaning his nose, and well now because this last thing, no, I'm still cleaning poop, but yeah, I learned from the CNAs because I watched, and then during the time that he was at the subacute, uh, Kaiser does not let them use diapers, okay, because they don't want any because a lot of places
Diaper rash
right,
and all that.
right.
Yeah.
And then they did not want to put a catheter, or they did not want to put a Foley
Really?
catheter, whatever.
Why?
Yeah, no, because that can also cause. Um, Good night, Jan, and get some sleep. And thank you for because it's 2 o'clock there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 2 a.m.
Thank you, Jan.
Yeah, thank you, Jan. Um, but anyway, it's um, what was I saying?
The catheter. Why they didn't want to do the catheter?
Oh yeah. So Tom was really with it. He couldn't move. He was still with oxygen and of course the great big um trach
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
And uh so he said, "Can you do something about this?" And me being a teacher, I figured out, okay, I'll because he couldn't tell me fast enough that he needed to pee, so I devised a way to keep the urinal by making sure that it wasn't going to cut into his penis or anything, and then put some towels and then a diaper around it so it held it there. And then, of course, I would because I was right there. There was no room,
Right.
I was right there.
Right.
And so as soon as I heard him peeing, then I would just empty it, and he would stay dry. Those people loved me because they didn't have to change his bed,
No, right. Right.
Yeah. Then and they did not mind me. So anyway, I was able to learn how to what they were doing with him. The PT, the OT, even the speech. But being a teacher, I know how to go from point A to point D, okay? So then so I learned that, okay, from them. Now when he moved to the acute rehab, August 24th. And it only had to be August 24th because I was out of town for 15 days for my family reunion and some extra time for me, thank goodness because he was being taken care of, but I also had a schedule of friends and family that signed up to go visit him after his therapies every single day. He had visitors, and I also had
That is always good. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
also had clothes ready for him for every single day. I labeled them. I had his shorts, his shirt, his socks, and everything. And I told him put the dirty things back in there because I didn't want it going to the laundry there. I would do the laundry. And so on the 24th of August, he was transferred to the acute rehab, which is the Rancho Los Amigos national rehab or whatever it is. It's well known, but it was county, and I thought county. Ugh. Well, it was it. You should see it, and it's amazing. And he was supposed to be there only 2 weeks, but I asked for an extra week. They made sure I knew how to transfer him onto the shower bench and everything else, and into the car. So I learned everything by being there and watching and videotaping and doing. So I am a caregiver. I can be a
Boom,
certified caregiver.
boom. Only the
Boom.
best.
Yeah.
Only the best. Now, so now that you know, like, obviously, you're well versed within our community. You know a lot of stroke survivors, and then also, you're a caregiver as well. So, do you have any words of wisdom for those that are on both sides of the spectrum? Those that are caregivers and those that are stroke survivors. So I
Yes.
don't mean like, I mean like, so I'm asking for you speaking to the caregiver from a strokes from uh, so that they can understand the stroke survivor. Does that make sense? And vice versa.
Sort of. I think so. Yeah, I think so. It's well, it can be very frustrating,
Yeah.
and also with the stroke survivor, okay, or the TBI,
Yeah.
whatever. Um, it's really knowing that life has changed, for both of you, for the survivor and for the loved one that's going to be the caregiver, really.
Yeah.
Because, we did have caregivers for a few years, and I just got tired of paying thousands of dollars a month. And you run out of money, and so but I know that Tom was so used to doing things and being the Mr. Fix It man and everything else. And uh, I just learned from having been a teacher with special needs children also, and kids that were sick, to not baby him. I never babied him. And whatever he could do, I just wanted to sure make sure that he was safe. He's been a handful. He has been
Oh
a
yeah.
handful because
Yeah.
he's an escape artist. All the time he's an escape artist. I have a picture that I am going to post, and I told him, it's like, oh my gosh, he could have mitts and everything. So anyway, it's knowing that that person needs the time, but and what the doctor had said, and that's why we had really good support, and being told what to expect, not to expect. They said, the doctor said, we don't know. We don't know because each person is different. We don't know how long it's going to be, and whether he is going, because of where the stroke was and what it affected, he has no balance. The doctor said, we don't know if he's going to walk again. It depends on him. And so that's why I knew that, okay, we're going to be going to therapy, and I have, we've have done everything, different therapies and therapists. Even had a therapist coming to the house for a few years. He was great. Great. Oh my gosh. And actually with Dr. Sullivan today, music, she said it's like, that's what we've been doing, the music, and also having something that he was used to and loved and everything, golf. And so at Rancho Los Amigos, they had a para golfer, and then even at Next Step LA, so the therapies are really important, and also just, it's tough. It's a tough road. We have our days.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
was ready to throw in the towel last night. I was ready to throw. I was ready to throw him out of the house.
But you know what?
You know,
You know what?
huh?
Love
Huh?
conquers all.
That's right. And he knows to just let me be mouthy at times,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
get it out of my system.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
But
for sure.
for the caregiver side of it, it's we need our time. We need our time. And so even now, once I know that I've made sure he's been fed and all that, and if he's peed, if I need to go and do an errand, lately I haven't been able to, because different things have happened. But in 2017, I actually went to India for 10 days because I had the caregivers all lined up. I had friends lined up to come and check on the caregivers and the hired people. And one of them actually lived here, and he was the best, but he had a drinking problem. So that I had to fire him while I was gone, because I have a lot of liquor here and wine and everything, and he never touched it. So, but he was going through one of his binges, and it happened to be when I was going to be gone. So that was sad, but we're still in touch with him. We're still in touch with him. It's
I hope
it's
he's doing good.
I hope so too. But so even now, I have friends that um, would stay with him. Oh, that time when I was gone, I had friends that lined up, and I had two caregivers that were able to take 12-hour shifts for the rest of the time. And but one of them couldn't be here during the nighttime part for a few days. I had friends that would come and sit on the armchair and watch Tom to make sure he didn't get out of bed, so that the one caregiver could go home and sleep for a few hours. So a lot of support. And I'm sorry, I like it dim, and I just realized, oh, it's turning dark. But anyway, it's definitely, we need time, and I have a lot of good support, and also with the different pages and shows and everything. So that I really say, you know, don't feel like you have to do it all and all on your. I mean, go through the whole craziness, because I do have people that I can go, uh, and let it out. I let it out on him too, but and and then I take him everywhere now. I mean, we're going to be gone as soon as I find out what kind of a infection he's got and what they're going to do. I want to be up in San Francisco to be up there to help take care of my aunt, and be with her for her birthday. So, did I answer you? What are the both
No,
sides?
you're. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Totally, totally.
Okay, good.
Yeah, totally. Now, yeah. So pretty much that was the points there that I wanted you, to get across for both the caretaker and the stroke survivors, to just basically, in essence, see it from both angles, because like you were saying, it's a hard and frustrating time, or it can be a hard and frustrating time for both the caregiver and the stroke survivor. So, it's one that you have to try to attempt to look at from both angles, both sides, um,
And
and I appreciate that.
yeah, and one thing is, I always told Tom, I said, we have years ahead of us. I said, it's up to you to believe that you can do it. And I said, you've got to put in the work. I can't do it for you. I can, and this is what I told my students also. I'm here to give you the environment, to give you the things, and then the parameters or whatever, but it's your classroom. And that's why I tell him it's your getting back and doing things. Like we've been doing music, and Dr. Sullivan today was talking about music, and I'm going, ah, I did that. And then uh and then you know how you with the grasping and you know, and he loved golf. And yes, we had the golf balls and golfing and everything. And he loved baseball. One of his buddies would come to the subacute and throw baseball to him, and they would play catch. And that was when he was still in the subacute, you know. So and then when, you know, so doing things that he loved, but also once he, oh, the trach came out. He came home in September. The trach came out uh, October 15th of 2015 because he kept pulling it out. So the doctor says, well, he can breathe on his own, so why keep it in there? You know, so yeah. So anyway, and then to traveling. I've put it in our page of where he's gone. I mean, he's flown to Oklahoma 3 times because that's where our headquarters is, and then he's gone to um, Dallas, Houston, New Orleans, New York, Washington, Virginia, you know, Maryland and Virginia. Um, uh, where else? Utah, uh, Nashville, Tennessee, uh, Columbus, Ohio. Am I missing any, Tom? Oh, Hawaii twice. And he just went to Hawaii. We just went to Hawaii February 12th to the 26th, right before COVID, to celebrate his 68th birthday. And then, you know, you guys know about the Napa trip. That was only supposed to be 6 weeks. I got to extend it 2 more weeks because of his operation up there. So you just have to, it's like, you know, sometimes it's like, oh my God, what else? But, you know, it's that positive mental attitude. I have my moments, I don't stay there. Like even today when I was telling another friend what was going on, I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry for dumping on you like this, but you know I'm saying it with a smile." You know? So anyway, yeah, positive mental attitude, having the belief and that you are going to get through it, even though I keep on saying, "I'm divorcing you." And I'm done. And but he's afraid that I'm crazy enough that one day, you know, I warned him, don't push me, and he's gonna believe me. No, you all are going, oh my
Don't
God.
be silly. All right.
Okay, okay, I know it's the end.
Don't be silly. Let's wrap it up here. I
Okay,
wrap up all my shows with the prayer. All right, let's do it.
go ahead, you do it.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing Salud Celinda into my life, into my path, as you continue to ju- bring fellow stroke survivors and caregivers into this community to make our army stronger and our bond stronger to for other survivors so that we can continue to show that we support one another moving forward. And we ask that you continue to watch over us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Salud. Thank you so much for being on my show.
Oh, just like George said, mahalo, shakra.
Hello.
That's for George. I
There you
talked
go.
to him last night after watching